we assess the 2-year performance of the Modi government, joining us on CNBC TV 18 for his first interview after taking over as the CEO of NITI Aayog is Amitabh Kant. Mr. Kant, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Let me start by asking you about the drought situation, because you've just come away from a very crucial meeting that the Prime Minister had called this morning on how to address the drought. Now, the Supreme Court has had some very scathing words, not just for the central government, but also for the state government. The state governments, according to the court, have behaved like with an ostrich-like attitude. The court has also said that the buck must stop with the centre, and they cannot say that this is the state's responsibility. Where do things stand? What can we now expect? What was on the agenda as far as this meeting was concerned?
Well, Shereen, let me tell you that a huge amount of work has been done by the states. I've sat through 10 meetings taken by the Prime Minister with the Chief Ministers of the state. It's amazing to see the kind of work that states have done in terms of water management, in terms of providing food supply to people who've been impacted, in terms of the work that has gone on in the field, in terms of doing a whole lot of innovative work based on technology.
Why is it not then reflecting in what the court is saying, sir?
See, my view is that it's very difficult for a court to really get a perspective of what's going on in the field. It's an executive functioning in my view. And having been through some of these places, undertaken some of the meetings, I can assure you that amazing amount of work has been done by the states. It's remarkable work, and work has been done by some of the district collectors in the field. India needs to feel proud of the way that it has managed some of these things. My view is that water has come center stage. Huge amount of work has been done in terms of recycling water, in terms of watershed management, in terms of revitalizing and rehabilitating some of our ponds and structures which had been built earlier. And I think I personally feel extremely optimistic about the way India is managing some of these issues.
So let me ask you specifics before I move on to other questions. As far as the Drought Mitigation Fund, which is part of an existing plan that is, of course, that the government needs to provide for, what could be the financial implications of the Supreme Court's directive? Because it would mean more money for the NREGS, it would perhaps mean more money to state governments. Was this taken up at all at this meeting?
No, this issue was not discussed at all. I think the central government is fully committed to assisting the states as far as drought is concerned. The states have all the resources, actually, in terms of various schemes. A lot of resources are available through, the Pradhan Mantri Narega and the agricultural schemes. The whole lot of schemes available. Adequate amount of resources are available today with the states, and I don't think resources is a constraint at all now.
Okay, now let me talk to you about something that we discussed when you last joined us, which was a day after the budget, on strategic sales, which is part of the government's stated objective. You said then that a list would be prepared within a fortnight by the NITI Aayog. Has that list been prepared? Is it now with the Finance Ministry?
So we had to do two things. One is to look at companies, public sector companies, which are loss-making and sick units. So we have to give a perspective on that. And second is to look at strategic sales. We are well on track on both of them. We moved ahead on both these issues, and a range of interministerial meetings have been conducted. We've arrived at a final decision on some of these issues, and I think it's best left because these are sensitive issues, and it's better not to talk to the media about where. But let me assure you that we moved with such speed and such lightning speed that in the NITI Aayog we've almost done our job.
Okay, I understand that it's a sensitive issue. I'm not going to ask you for names, but let me ask you. You said that in some cases decisions are almost final. How soon can we expect, whether it's some sick PSUs or other PSUs which may not be loss-making or sick, be divested? How soon do you propose this is going to start?
So NITI is a recommending authority. It's not the final decision making. The decision making is done at the cabinet level. So I think what we are doing is the recommendation part of it, and the final call on what will happen is something which the Department of Disinvestment and the Ministry of Finance and then the Cabinet will process.
So 1 month, 2 months, a couple of months, how soon do you believe we could see the first recommendation being taken to Cabinet?
No, I wouldn't like to. We've done almost our job. It's for others to take a call, but I wouldn't like to tell you where we are and what we are. But we've done our job with absolutely rapid pace.
Okay, so now the ball is in the Department of Disinvestment, which has been renamed anyway.
So many of these things are very interministerial in nature.
That.
And it's not proper to say that Ministry of Finance. Sure. I think all of us need to sit together and take this forward.
So I won't try and get names again from you, but let me ask you about the driving philosophy behind what you've sort of used as parameters to see whether something should be divested or not. What about 6 PSUs? What's been the path that you've decided or the indicators that you've decided to take?
Shereen, it won't be appropriate for me to comment on the philosophy of it because there's been a lot of deliberations, but it will not be proper for me to comment on this at this stage.
Are there any areas which the government believes are strategic in nature and hence, obviously defense is one of them, but will not be part of any of the recommendations that you may have sent?
No, we've done a very detailed deliberation on what needs to be kept with the government and the extent to which it is to be kept, and the mode of transaction, the mode of sale, the mode of valuation, all that we've examined, but I won't like to comment on it at this stage to the media.
Okay, but things have moved forward and we hope...
Things have vigorously moved forward. Let me assure you of one thing, that we are far ahead of what the media ever thinks.
So things have vigorously moved forward is the line coming in from you, Mr. Kant. Let me then ask you about something else that the NITI Aayog has been charged with, which is to move away from the 5-year plan and now put together a 15-year plan. But what a lot of people don't know is that there is also going to be a 7-year plan which will look at execution and implementation. This is in that sense being called the NDA or the National Development Agenda. Can you share more light on that for us?
Well, what the Prime Minister has decided is that you can't radically shape the destiny of a country in 5 years' time. You need a longer perspective, and the longer perspective is to look at a 15-year perspective on how you radically want to transform the economy or the country itself. Having done this vision of 15 years, you look backwards and then do a 7-year planning and then do a 3-year review. And that 3-year review would actually coincide with the finance commissions. So you'll have a clear, that is 2020, so you'll have a clear idea of what the resources availability is. Once you have a clear picture of that, then you can do that planning. But I think 3 years, 7 years, 15 years. But more important than all this is the fact that this is the first government which is doing a very, very serious outcome-based monitoring. So it lays down an annual outcome. It says that this is the target which you need to achieve, and then it monitors that target. So NITI Aayog has been directed to lay down the target of the particular department in terms of road, in terms of railways, in terms of petroleum, natural gas, and including social sectors like education and health. And then you monitor that through a dashboard on a monthly basis, and the Prime Minister reviews this every 3 months. So this is the first time this is happening. Officers,
I believe that the review is expected maybe shortly, perhaps around the 20th of May.
So a vast number of reviews have already been held across infrastructure, education, health. Series of reviews have been held, and then very detailed minutes are issued, which are then put into a dashboard and then are monitored. And this kind of very detailed monitoring has actually never happened in India. And this, to my mind, is a very, very refreshing thing. You are actually pinning down departments to specified targets.
What does the current review tell you, and what kind of targets are you now allocating for these different departments and different ministries?
So I think what's happened in the infrastructure sector actually is quite remarkable. I mean, if you were to look at the road sector, there has been, in terms of roads commissioned, there has been a growth of 39% in the last 2 years. In terms of the roads awarded, there's been, in terms of the roads commissioned, it's 39%. In terms of the roads awarded, actually, there's been a growth of close to 59%, a humongous growth. In terms of railways, the railway lines awarded is about almost 74%. 74% is the growth. In terms of electrification, the growth is about 29%. But more important than all this is that the capital invested in railways is about 65% plus in the last 2 years as compared to the previous 2 years. So I find, and if you look at the civil aviation sector, there's been a growth of about 21% in terms of the passengers. So there has been a huge growth in terms of the infrastructure sector. And I think the government has not hesitated. It's taken a vast number of radical policy measures across sectors, and I think this is yielding results. So the infrastructure sector is really driving the growth. It's really creating the momentum for the economy, and that's a big thing. But having said that, I feel that there are a huge number of many more innovative things that need to be done. I mean, in terms of the clogging up at several places, which needs to be monitored, enhancing the quality of construction. On the railway side, there's similarly a vast number of things which need to be done in terms of the technical improvement on the railway side. But I think the first 2 years have demonstrated the government's will to really push the infrastructure sector. And what you've achieved in the last 2 years, to my mind, has not been done in the last 25 years. So that's big.
Okay, let me ask you about your pet projects, and that's Make in India. Disaggregate FDI data is hard to get by, but if you probably have the numbers already. How much FDI is actually coming to the manufacturing sector if I were to just look at this financial year?
So I've done that analysis, and my view is that overall for the country, FDI has grown by about 48%. Now, what happens is when you do a breakup analysis, I mean, FDI flows into defense, it flows into railways, it flows into construction.
But I think share has gone to the services sector and continues to be so.
No, it will for quite some time. It will. But one must understand that manufacturing is getting more and more digitized over the period of time. But the inflow into the manufacturing sector is close to about 40%. So, that's a very high number.
So 40% year on year?
It's about 42%. So the FDI inflow into the manufacturing sector being 42% is a very good performance according to me. But my view is that it should rise even further in the coming months. And that has been a very, very good performance. But more than anything else, the fact is that India has become really the center of FDI inflows across the world. I mean, you're number one. You've outsmarted China today. And you've outsmarted every other country in the world. You've been rated number one by every single analysis. Ernst & Young, Financial Times, Foreign Policy Magazine, everybody said India is number one. So that's a big achievement. For years we were saying that FDI is not coming in, FDI is not coming in, FDI is coming in large numbers, and you need to keep that momentum going. And you need to keep liberalizing more and more.